Why is cottage cheese so controversial? Historical context. Cottage cheese is one of the oldest dairy products. Archaeologists have found evidence of its production dating back to Mesopotamia in 3000 BC. Nomads carried it on journeys as a portable protein, and in the Soviet Union, it became a symbol of affordable, healthy eating. But today, I want to highlight a key detail. The benefits of cottage cheese depend entirely on how and what you eat it with. The cottage cheese paradox. Benefits versus risks. What's good about it? Casein, a slow-digesting protein that keeps you full for hours. Calcium, 120 milligrams per 100 grams, 12% of your daily needs. Probiotics and natural farm-style cottage cheese support gut health. What's concerning? Bad food pairings can block nutrient absorption. Low-fat versions often lack fat-soluble vitamins. Industrial additives in store-bought brands, starch, stabilizers. Research data. According to an FDA report 2023, 45% of cottage cheese samples in the U.S. contain traces of antibiotics used in livestock. 30% of products labeled organic had added starch to improve texture. A real-life story. A friend of mine ate low-fat cottage cheese with fruit jam for years, thinking it was the perfect breakfast. Over time, she noticed fatigue and brittle nails. Her doctor explained that the lack of fat in the cottage cheese hindered calcium absorption, while the excess sugar disrupted her mineral balance. After switching her diet, her health improved. What this video covers: 5 common habits that cancel out cottage cheese's benefits. How to read labels to avoid hidden additives. Simple recipes to turn cottage cheese into a nutrient powerhouse. Food for thought. Why do some diets cut out cottage cheese despite its perks? The answer lies in the first mistake I'll reveal shortly. For now, share in the comments. How often do you eat cottage cheese, and what do you pair it with? Mistake 1. Cottage cheese plus sugar. Why it drains your energy and beauty. Why sugar in cottage cheese isn't just a sweet treat. I often see people adding sugar, jam, or even condensed milk to cottage cheese. Sure, plain cottage cheese can taste bland, but let's break down what happens in your body when you mix it with sugar. The destruction mechanism, glycation. Sugar isn't just empty sweetness. When combined with cottage cheese's protein, casein, peanut, triggers glycation, a process where glucose molecules bind to proteins, forming toxic compounds called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Why AGEs are dangerous. Destroy collagen and elastin, gives skin loses elasticity, wrinkles form. Damage blood vessel walls, raises the risk of atherosclerosis. Build up in joints, gives increase inflammation and pain. Research. A 2021 Leiden University study found that people who eat sugar with protein have 34% higher age levels in their blood than those who eat protein alone. Why sugar in cottage cheese robs you of calcium. You eat cottage cheese for calcium, but sugar sabotages its benefits. Here's how. Sugar increases gut acidity, gives calcium absorption plummets. Excess glucose forces kidneys to flush out calcium, gives your body loses this vital mineral. Symptoms of calcium deficiency. Brittle nails and hair. Nighttime leg cramps. Frequent fractures even from minor falls. The numbers. 1 tsp of sugar in cottage cheese gives 20% less calcium absorbed from that serving. Daily sweetened cottage cheese raises osteoporosis risk by 17%. WHO, 2022. Sugar versus your brain. How sweetened cottage cheese kills productivity. After sugary cottage cheese, you get an energy spike, followed by a crash. Why? Insulin roller coaster. Sugar spikes blood glucose, gives pancreas releases insulin. Insulin rapidly shuttles sugar into cells, gives glucose levels plummet, gives you feel hungry and drained. Brain impact. Excess sugar lowers BDNF, a protein critical for memory and learning. Post-sugar breakfasts reduce focus by 40%. Journal of Neuroscience, 2020. My experiment. I ate sugary cottage cheese for breakfast for a month, and noticed constant snacking cravings before lunch, poor focus at work, breakouts on my forehead. 5 sugar alternatives that won't harm you. You don't have to give up sweetness. Try these instead. Fresh berries. Raspberries, blueberries, strawberries gives low glycemic index plus antioxidants. Pro tip: freeze summer berries to enjoy your stevia or natural 0-calorie sweeteners. Key: choose stevia without additives. Look for Reb A or erythritol. Cinnamon plus cocoa. 1 tsp cocoa plus pinch of cinnamon mimics chocolate dessert flavor. Cinnamon helps stabilize blood sugar. Pumpkin puree. Natural sweetness plus fiber. Perfect for fall-inspired breakfasts. Vanilla. Pure vanilla extract, not artificial. Adds subtle sweetness. Recipe: 3-minute sugar-free cottage cheese dessert. Ingredients: 150 grams cottage cheese, 5 to 9% fat. 50 grams frozen cherries thawed. 1 tsp cocoa powder. 1/2 tsp cinnamon. Coconut flakes optional. Steps: mix cottage cheese with cocoa and cinnamon. Stir in cherries. Top with coconut flakes for crunch. Why it works: cherries contain anthocyanins, anti-inflammatory compounds. Coconut adds healthy fats, slows carb absorption. Fact: what about honey? It's healthier than sugar. Honey is better than refined sugar, but only if you don't heat it above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Destroys enzymes. Use no more than 1 tsp per serving. Warning: honey plus cottage cheese equals same glycation reaction. Eat it separately as a snack. Key takeaways: sugar in cottage cheese accelerates aging, depletes calcium, crashes energy. Swap sugar for berries, spices, or natural sweeteners. Healthy breakfasts can still be delicious. Experiment. Question for you: do you add sugar to cottage cheese? If yes, try swapping it for berries and report your results in a week. Mistake 2: cottage cheese plus coffee. Why it harms your bones and energy. The morning ritual that steals your resources. Picture this: you wake up, brew a cup of aromatic coffee, and eat a serving of cottage cheese. It seems like the perfect start to the day. Protein for fullness, caffeine for energy. But a few hours later, you're exhausted and reaching for a second cup of coffee. Sound familiar? Let's uncover why this happens. What's wrong with cottage cheese and coffee? The secret war of tannins versus calcium. How it works. Coffee contains tannins, compounds that block calcium absorption from cottage cheese by binding it into insoluble complexes. Reduce iron absorption by 40%. American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 2020. Results: you eat cottage cheese for calcium, but get none of it. Iron deficiency gives weakness, pale skin, shortness of breath during exercise. The numbers: 1 cup of coffee reduces calcium absorption from cottage cheese by 25%. To offset these losses, you'd need to eat 100 grams of broccoli, plus 30 grams sesame seeds. WHO data. Coffee, the invisible thief of magnesium. Why magnesium matters? It's involved in 300 plus bodily processes, including energy production (ATP), muscle relaxation, nervous system function. What coffee does? Caffeine increases magnesium excretion via urine. Cottage cheese only has 8 milligrams of magnesium per 100 grams. Deficiency is inevitable. Symptoms of magnesium deficiency: nighttime leg cramps, insomnia even when exhausted, anxiety and irritability. My experiment: I drank coffee with cottage cheese for breakfast for a month and noticed nighttime calf cramps. Needing more caffeine by afternoon? Lab tests showed a 20% magnesium deficiency. Coffee plus cottage cheese equals double gut punch. Problem 1. Coffee stimulates stomach acid production. Drinking it on an empty stomach with cottage cheese can trigger heartburn, gastritis, especially if you have H. pylori bacteria. Problem 2. Cottage cheeses, Casein requires an alkaline environment for digestion. But coffee creates acidity, slows protein breakdown. Result: stomach heaviness, bloating, and gas. How to drink coffee safely. 3 rules. Time it right. Drink coffee 30 minutes before cottage cheese, or wait 1 hour after eating it. Add a calcium shield. Drink lemon water before coffee. Vitamin C boosts mineral absorption. Swap coffee for alternatives. Chicory contains inulin for gut health. Masala chai, ginger plus cardamom neutralize tannins. Golden milk, turmeric plus black pepper reduce inflammation. Recipe: morning coffee replacement. Ingredients: 200 milliliters almond milk, 1 tsp chicory powder, pinch of cinnamon, 1 pitted date. Steps: blend all ingredients until smooth. Warm on low heat, do not boil. Why it works: chicory mimics coffee's bitterness without caffeine. Dates add natural sweetness plus fiber. What if you can't quit coffee? If you're not ready to ditch coffee, choose light roast. Gives fewer Add a pinch of salt to coffee. Reduces bitterness and supports adrenal health. Drink through a straw. Minimizes enamel staining. Key takeaways: coffee plus cottage cheese equals calcium, magnesium, and iron loss. Separate them by at least 30 minutes. Try chicory or golden milk, gives energy boosts in a week. Question for you: do you drink coffee with cottage cheese? If yes, try my chicory recipe and share your thoughts. Mistake 3: cottage cheese plus canned foods. Hidden sugar, salt, and chemicals. Why canned foods are cottage cheese's worst friend? Canned fruits, pickles, or fish might seem like convenient add-ons to cottage cheese, but behind that convenience lurks danger. Let's break down why pairing cottage cheese with canned goods harms your health. Canned fruits, a sugary trap. What's wrong? Sugar: canned pineapples, peaches, or pears sit in syrup packing 20 to 25 grams of sugar per 100 grams, 4 to 5 teaspoons. Chemicals: sodium benzoate E211 and potassium sorbate E202. Kill not just bacteria in the can, they also harm your gut's good microbes. Research: a 2021 UC study found that regular canned fruit consumption raises insulin resistance risk by 18%. Personal story: I added canned pineapple to cottage cheese, thinking it was healthier than sugar. A month later, I had constant thirst and back acne. My doctor blamed excess fructose and preservatives. Pickles: a sneaky salt bomb. The problem: sodium overload. 100 grams of pickles contains up to 1,200 milligrams of salt, 80% of your daily limit. Consequences: water retention gives bloating. High blood pressure gives stroke risk. Potassium-magnesium imbalance gives cramps. The numbers: WHO states 60% of hypertension cases are linked to excess salt, canned fish, mercury, and more. Why risky? Heavy metals, tuna, and large fish accumulate mercury. Even canned versions often exceed safe limits. Oils and sauces. Canned fish in oil adds 200 to 300 extra calories per serving. BPA plastic-lined cans leak toxins that disrupt hormones. Tip: choose canned fish and water, not oil labeled BPA-free. 3 safe alternatives to canned foods. Frozen berries, fruit, retain 90% of vitamins, no syrups or preservatives. Example: cottage cheese plus frozen mango plus mint. Fresh veggies: cucumbers, tomatoes, bell peppers. Add herbs: dill, parsley for detox benefits. Homemade fermented foods: sauerkraut, no vinegar, gives gut-friendly probiotics. Korean-style carrots, low-salt version. Recipe: anti-canned cottage cheese salad. Ingredients: 150 grams cottage cheese, 50 grams fresh cucumber diced, 30 grams red onion diced, 1 tsp olive oil, 1 tsp lemon juice, dill plus parsley. Steps: mix cottage cheese with cucumber, onion, and herbs. Dress with olive oil and lemon juice. Serve with a slice of whole grain bread. Why it works. Lemon juice boosts calcium absorption. Veggie fiber slows sugar spikes. What if you crave canned foods? Fruit, choose and juice not syrup cans gives rinse before eating. Veggies, look for low sodium labels, 140 mg per serving. Fish, opt for salmon or sardines. Omega-3 sources gives limit to 1 to 2x week. Key takeaways. Canned foods plus cottage cheese equals excess sugar, salt, and toxins. Swap them for fresh or frozen options, cheaper and healthier. DIY snacks take 10 minutes, but save your health long term. Question for you. Do you eat cottage cheese with canned foods? If yes, try my cucumber salad recipe and share your results. Mistake for fat-free cottage cheese. Why it's harming your health. The myth of healthy fat-free cottage cheese. Less fat equals healthier. You've heard this everywhere. But is it true? Today, I'll explain why fat-free cottage cheese might be riskier than you think. Why fat in cottage cheese matters. Fat isn't the enemy. It plays critical roles. Absorbing vitamins. Without fat, your body can't use fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Hormone balance. Fats help produce hormones like testosterone and estrogen. Satiety. Fat slows digestion, keeps you fuller longer. Research. A 2020 Harvard study found people who eat fat-free dairy are 23% more likely to have vitamin D deficiency. Why fat-free cottage cheese is dangerous? Calcium loss. Calcium in fat-free cottage cheese is 40% less absorbable. Without vitamin D, which requires fat, it passes through your body unused. Hidden sugar and additives. To make fat-free cottage cheese edible, brands add starch, check labels for thick sugar sweeteners to mask blandness. Stabilizers like E466, E1442 gives harm gut bacteria. The hunger trap effect. Fat-free cottage cheese doesn't satisfy, gives you crave snacks within hours, gives overeating and blood sugar spikes. My experiment. How fat-free ruined my health. I ate fat-free cottage cheese for 2 months, thinking it was healthy. Results. Vitamin D dropped to 18 ng/ml normal, 30 to 100. Dry skin and brittle nails. Constant sugar cravings. Switching to 5% fat, cottage cheese fixed everything in 6 weeks. How to pick the right cottage cheese. 3 rules. Fat content. 5 to 9% is ideal. Ingredients. Only milk plus cultures. Avoid vegetable fats or milk protein. Texture. Natural cottage cheese is grainy, smooth texture means added starch. Starch test hack. Drop iodine on cottage cheese. If it turns blue, there's starch. Alternatives to fat-free cottage cheese. Homemade cottage cheese. 1 liter milk plus 2 TBSP lemon juice gives heat until curdled. Strain. Greek yogurt, 5% fat. More protein plus probiotics. Add healthy fats. 1 TBSP olive oil or avocado balances fat loss. Recipe: 6-hour satiety cottage cheese cream. Ingredients: 150 grams 5% cottage cheese. 1 TSP coconut oil melted. 30 grams nuts, walnuts, almonds. 50 grams fresh pear diced. Steps: mix cottage cheese with coconut oil. Add pear and crushed nuts. Why it works. Coconut oils, MCT fats, boost metabolism. Nuts lower the meal's glycemic index. What if your doctor recommends fat-free? Possible reasons. Specific conditions, for example, acute pancreatitis. Solution: choose 2 to 3% fat cottage cheese instead of 0%. Add 1 TSP flaxseed oil aids vitamin absorption without straining the pancreas. Key takeaways. Fat-free cottage cheese robs you of nutrients and triggers overeating. Always choose 5 to 9% fat, additive-free cottage cheese. If you prefer fat-free, add healthy fats like nuts or oils. Question for you. Do you buy fat-free cottage cheese? If yes, test it with iodine and share your results. Mistake 5. Cottage cheese at night. Why it ruins your sleep and metabolism. Why cottage cheese before bed is a bad idea. Many eat cottage cheese at night, believing its protein feeds muscles while you sleep. But let's uncover what really happens when you eat cottage cheese before bed. Casein, slow protein, or nightmare fuel. How it works. Casein, cottage cheese's main protein, takes 4 to 6 hours to digest. At night, your body should rest and recover, not waste energy digesting food. Consequences: poor sleep. Active digestion disrupts deep sleep, gives you wake up exhausted. Morning puffiness. Your body retains water to process protein. Cortisol spikes. An overworked liver raises stress hormones, gives 3 a.m. wake-ups. Research. A 2022 Journal of Sleep research study found people eating 150 grams of cottage-aged cheese before bed had 30% more insomnia complaints. Cottage cheese versus growth hormone. Why it matters. Growth hormone somatotropin, produced at night, is essential for burning fat, muscle repair, skin cell renewal. The problem: eating cottage cheese triggers insulin release, which suppresses growth hormone. Even unsweetened cottage cheese causes a small insulin spike, gives you lose the nighttime hormones benefits. My experiment. I ate cottage cheese before bed for a month to build muscle. Results: gained 2 kilograms of fat. Dark under eye circles from poor sleep. Lab tests showed 15% lower growth hormone. Cottage cheese and acid reflux, a hidden risk. Mechanism: lying down lets stomach acid flow into the esophagus. Fatty cottage cheese slows stomach emptying, gives heartburn and discomfort. At-risk groups: people with GERD, acid reflux, pregnant women due to stomach pressure, anyone eating within 2 hours of bedtime. When can you eat cottage cheese at night? Ideal timing: at least 3 hours before bed, gives time to digest. Post-workout: if you lifted weights in the evening, cottage cheese aids recovery. Tips: keep portions under 100 grams. Pair with veggies, cucumber, celery, to speed digestion. 3 light alternatives to nighttime cottage cheese. Fish plus veggies. 100 gram baked coat, tambah arugula, atau cucumber salad. Rich in tryptophan, sleep-promoting amino acid. Pumpkin seeds. A handful plus chamomile tea. Magnesium relaxes muscles. 1% kefir. 200 milliliters kefir plus cinnamon. Probiotics support gut health without bloat. Recipe: sleep-friendly dinner, no cottage cheese. Ingredients: 100 grams turkey breast, 50 grams steamed broccoli, 1 tsp sesame oil, 1/2 avocado. Steps: bake turkey and broccoli. Drizzle with sesame oil. Serve with avocado slices. Why it works. Turkey provides tryptophan, boosts melatonin. Sesame oil adds magnesium and calcium. What if you really want cottage cheese? Choose low-fat up to 5%. Add cinnamon, boosts metabolism. Eat 2.5 hours before bed, stay upright afterward. Key takeaways. Cottage cheese at night gives poor sleep, stifled growth hormone, heartburn. Eat it 3 hours before bed or swap for lighter proteins, fish, turkey. If eating late, pair with veggies for better digestion. Question for you. Do you eat cottage cheese at night? If yes, try my turkey recipe and share how your sleep improved. Recipes and takeaways. How to make cottage cheese your ally. The 5 mistakes you'll never make again. Cottage cheese plus sugar gives premature aging, calcium loss, energy crashes. Cottage cheese plus coffee gives magnesium iron deficiency, insomnia. Cottage cheese plus canned foods gives excess salt, sugar, toxins. Fat-free cottage cheese gives hormonal imbalance, overeating. Cottage cheese at night gives poor sleep, stunted growth hormone. Key takeaway. Cottage cheese is a superfood if you eat it right. 5 recipes for a perfect day. 1. Breakfast. Energy-boosting cottage cheese smoothie. Ingredients: 100 grams, 5% cottage cheese, 50 grams, frozen blueberries, 1 tsp chia seeds, 100 milliliters almond milk, pinch of vanilla extract. Steps: blend everything. Serve with a mint leaf. Why? Blueberries fight inflammation. Chia prevents sugar spikes. 2. Lunch: quinoa and cottage cheese salad. Ingredients: 100 grams cottage cheese, 50 grams cooked quinoa, 30 grams spinach, 1/2 avocado, 1 tsp olive oil. Steps: mix cottage cheese with quinoa, spinach, avocado, and oil. Why? Quinoa adds fiber. Avocado boosts nutrient absorption. 3. Snack: turmeric cottage cheese bites. Ingredients: 150 grams, 9% cottage cheese, 1 tsp turmeric, 10 grams sesame seeds, 1 tsp flaxseed meal. Steps: roll cottage cheese plus turmeric into balls, coat with sesame flax. Chill 30 minutes. Why? Turmeric reduces inflammation. Sesame adds calcium. 4. Dinner: veggie cottage cheese casserole. Ingredients: 200 grams cottage cheese, 1 egg, 50 grams zucchini, 30 grams broccoli, pinch of paprika. Steps: mix ingredients, bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius for 25 minutes. Why? Veggies speed digestion. Paprika revs metabolism. 5. Dessert: sugar-free cottage cheese ice cream. Ingredients: 200 grams cottage cheese, 1 banana, 1 tsp cocoa powder, 30 grams walnuts. Steps: blend cottage cheese, banana, cocoa, add walnuts, freeze 2 hours. Why? Banana replaces sugar. Walnuts add healthy fats. How to choose and store cottage cheese. Buy 5 to 9% fat, no starch, additives test with iodine. Store in glass containers is less than or equal to 3 days. Freeze. Portion into containers lasts 2 months. Your action plan: cut out sugar and coffee in cottage cheese meals. Replace canned foods with fresh frozen options. Choose full-fat cottage cheese. Avoid fat-free. Eat cottage cheese 3 hours before bed or swap for light proteins. Bonus: grab the free PDF recipe guide in the description. Final words: cottage cheese isn't just food, it's a health tool. Avoid the mistakes. Try these recipes, and your body will thank you. If this helped, like the video to help others find it. Subscribe for more nutrition hacks. Comment: which tip will you try first? See you next time. Remember, your health is on your plate.